Hi, this is Melissa with the Stamping Ninja. Thank you for joining me today. We are going to be making this bright, bold floral card right here. It says wishing on the outside and the inside says you a happy birthday. So this card is made with the stamp bundle called Delightful Wishes. It is one of the newer sets that's in the January through April 2025 catalog, and you can find it on page 34. The paper that we're using, the DSP, is a celebration item. It is called Impressions DSP, and you can find it on page 11 of the brochure, but the picture is kind of muted in the brochure. So this paper is right here. I'm just going to show it to you real quick. This is the one that we're using. But these colors are so bright and bold, and they're just a really fun set of papers to craft with. I'm trying to get all these out of the way so you can see all the prints and how colorful they are. This paper is free with any $60 purchase that you make during Sale-A-Bration, so I do encourage you to get it. I have a feeling it's one of them that's going to be a hot item and may sell out quick. So, all right, for this card, you're going to need the following. Now, I did put the cardstock measurements and colors in the description below this video, but I'm going to go over them again here real quick with you. You're going to need a piece of basic white that measures 4 by 5 1/4. That's for the inside of your card. You're also going to need some scrap cardstock in basic white for our stamping. A piece of Bluemerry Bushel that measures 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, and it's scored at 4 1/4. A second piece of Bluemerry Bushel that measures 3 1/2 by 4. A 2 by 2 piece of Bubble Bath cardstock. A 2 by 2 piece of Daffodil Delight cardstock, as well as a 6" by 3/4 piece of Daffodil Delight. You'll need a 2 by 2 piece of Lemon Lolly cardstock and a 2 by 2 piece of Melon Mambo cardstock. And for the DSP, that Bloom Impressions, you're going to need a large piece that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then a smaller piece, it's the same print, you just flip it over, it's this green. And this one measures 2 5/8 by 3 3/4. So what we're gonna do first is we are gonna get all this stuff out of the way. We're going to burnish our score line here on our Bluemerry Bushel piece. And we're gonna do that with our bone folder. Just make sure that they're actually lined up before I do that. That's going to give you a nice crisp fold and ensures that the card stays nice and flat while you're working on it. So after that, you're going to take that large piece of DSP and we're going to adhere it to the front of this card. So I am using Multipurpose liquid glue. It is my favorite glue to use because I feel like it is a little more forgiving than anything else, and it sticks really well. It takes a while to get used to if you don't use it, but once you do, it's kind of hard to go back to anything else. So this is going to go on the front here, but the glue allows you to kind of slide it around and get it in place, so you have a little bit of time where you can adjust it before it's stuck. So that way you get it perfect. Here we go. All right, got that pretty paper on there. Tell you what we're gonna do next before I forget, because I have a tendency to do that. So we're gonna do the inside. So you're gonna need that 4 by 5 1/4 piece of basic white and your Bluemerry Bushel ink pad. So you can tell my fingers are blue, so I have been stamping today. Bluemerry Bushel doesn't stick to the stamps, but it sure does stick to your skin. So, all right, so this one just says, you a happy birthday. I'll ink that up. And, oh, look at that. I screwed up there. We'll just flip that over, nobody will know. All right, ink that up again. Remember to press all the way down this time. There we go. you a happy birthday. That one's much better. So if you make a mistake like I did, just flip it over and stamp on the other side. I'm gonna wipe that off real quick. I'm just using a baby wipe from Costco. I've been using them for years. They don't hurt the stamps. They don't have any scent to them. Really, really clean baby wipes. So, all right, we're going to adhere this piece to the inside of our card. All right, open this one up. There we are. Make sure I have it nice and centered. I tend to be somewhat of a perfectionist, so I don't want that to be crooked. All right, now we're gonna go back to the front. So after we have the inside done, you're going to need that Bluemerry Bushel piece. And that is this guy right here. So with the 3.5 up at the top and the 4 down the side, you want it in that position. You're going to take the die that has all these little flowers on it. It's one big die. We're going to line it up here on our cardstock. Actually, I'm going to grab my cut and emboss plates right here. I'll just do it on here. So this guy is going to go on here. I'm trying to cover the majority of it. So I'm just going to leave off a little corner and a little piece there. And I'm just going to take a piece of reusable tape and stick it in place because I don't want mine to move since I have to pick it up and carry it, move it around. You don't have to do that, but I don't want it to slide off. So I'm going to bring in my cut and emboss machine. Hopefully you can see it there. And you are just going to run this through your machine. Put my plate on top. Like so. So you have all your flowers there. And then you're going to do it again. I'm going to flip it around 90 degrees. And then I'm going to put it up here so that I have a pattern all the way down. And I'm making sure that I don't cover up the holes that are already there. There we go. Just going to hold that in place again. Put my top on. Bring back my machine here. And then what we should have is a nice little border on this side. It's kind of noisy there. Actually, I'll flip these out here. There. I just gave it a little flip over my trash can. So you have a nice little border right there on the side. And then we're going to adhere that small piece of paper to it. So this green one that we got right here. Oh, actually, take your pick tool. We have some centers that are still in there. So I'm just going to poke those out. There we go. Tiny little dots. All right. So we're going to adhere this one right here so that you have an even border around the top, the bottom, and the left-hand side. I'm about to run out of glue. So this one will go right here. like so. All right, so we're gonna put this piece away for a minute. We got that part done. Now we are going to cut out some of our other flowers. So I'm gonna bring that plate back in here. Oops. Clean it off real quick. There we go. So this is where you're gonna need those little squares. The Daffodil Delight, Lemon Lolly, Bubble Bath, and Melon Mambo. So I'm just gonna put all of those on there. I lost my bubble bath. There we go. And then we're gonna cut some flowers out. So you're going to need the large flower here. That's gonna go on your bubble bath. And then the large detailed portion of that flower is gonna go on the Melon Mambo. And then the small flower here is going to go on Lemon Lolly, and the detailed part of that flower is going to go on the Daffodil Delight. Now you're also going to need this little guy, which are the little centers. So we're going to move that up there and put that right there. And we're going to run all of this through at the same time, which to me is a lot easier than doing everything separate. So we're going to do all of those. Put my top back on there and run all these guys through. Oops, one of mine slipped. Here we go. All right. So doing all 5 of those dies at the same time. And they're all stuck to the top. All right, so we got our flowers. Throw that away. And our detailed flowers. Goodness, I'm making a mess here. And I'm just going to poke the little centers out of my detailed flower there. And the same with this guy. He's actually stuck in the die. There we go. Okay. Now, before you put it away, you're still going to need that piece of Daffodil Delight, because we're going to need 2 more sets of these center pieces. So go ahead and pause your video and go run that through 2 more times. I have already done it, so I cheated and worked ahead. So go ahead and do that and then come right back. In the meantime, I am going to move on to the next step here. So what we're going to do is we are going to adhere these flowers together. So the pink one, now that I got them all screwed up, it's easier to find this larger piece right here that is pretty solid, because the bottom of it's kind of, I don't know if you can see it, it kind of looks like somebody took a little bite out of it, and it'll go on the pink one where somebody took a little bite out of it. So that will go right there, matched up. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that. I'm going to hold on to that large piece actually, and get my glue to come out. There we go. And I'm just barely squeezing this bottle as I'm doing this, so it just barely gets anything on there, because you don't want to goop it on there, because then it squeezes out and then your image is sticky. Your card is sticky. There we go. And if you got fat fingers like I do, you can use your little tweezers. So you gotta line up those 2 little edges together. go. And that glue will allow you to move it around a little bit if you don't get it right the first time. There we go. So that one's on there. And now we're going to do the same thing with the yellow one. This one. These are kind of in the same shape. Get this one going down, they got this one going down, so they will go on there like so. Just like that. So those are the ones that actually line up. These two little guys and these. So I'm gonna flip that over. Yeah, I'm just gonna hang on to it with my tweezers this time. There's really not a big fat space on this one for my fingers, so just a little bit of glue here and there. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Lift it up here. Just barely touching it with any glue. And this will go on top of this one. Make sure I get it lined up right here. Here we go. And then one of these centers here, one of the large ones, we're going to adhere right to the middle of that pink flower. And I don't think there's any way to specifically line it up. To be honest, I didn't really check or work on it, so I just kind of stuck it where I wanted it. So if it does line up, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know. That way I'll know for next time. All right, so those flowers are done. And now we are going to stamp. So you're going to need that basic white, your scrap piece of basic white. We're going to stamp the wishing sentiment, and we're going to stamp our flowers and our leaves. So the wishing sentiment, I'm going to start with that one since it's the largest. And I'm going to stamp all my stuff on one sheet so I can run it through at the same time like I did all the little flowers here. So we're going to need our Blueberry Bushel, ink pad again. And we're going to ink it up. Make sure we press it down all the way this time. There we go. So there's our wishing. And we're going to do the flowers since we have that Blueberry Bushel ink pen out. So it's the background flower and the detailed flower that is right up here in this corner. So I'm going to start with the detailed part. And ink that up. Going to need 3 of them. Just going to go down here. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Done with that one. Now I'm going to ink up the plain background one. You want to make sure that you have it lined up with your stamp. I lined it up so that there's one that sticks out to the left. It's just, I don't know what you want to call it, arm, I guess. Bigger vein of the flower kind of sticks out to the left a little bit. So I made sure that I put my background one with that piece sticking out to the left as well. So that way I know they line up. Now for this one, you're going to stamp off. So we're going to ink up our stamp. We're going to stamp once on our scrap workspace, paper, whatever you have. And gosh, I screwed it up. I had it upside down. You want to make sure that you have it lined up with your detailed one. There we go. Doesn't help to have it upside down like I did. I'm going to ink up the second one, stamp off, and then stamp over your image. Like so, and then a third time, stamp off. There we go. So they should line up for you perfectly. Now that we're done with those, we are going to switch, and you are going to need your Shamrock ink pad. Mine is really juicy, so kind of have to be careful with it. But we're going to ink up some leaves. So you're going to need the leaf stamp, which is this one right here. You're going to need 4 of them. So for mine, I barely have to touch it, and it gets a lot of ink on it. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then 4. You'll notice I left a lot of space around my images, so that way when I do run them through the machine together, the dies will have enough space around them without touching one another. So, all right, now that all of that's done, we are going to crop these out with the dies. And for this one, you're going to need that outline flower, your leaves, and the wishing sentiment die. So I've already cheated with this one too. I've already cropped all mine out, so go ahead and pause the video, cut all of these out, and then come back here to put it all together. So I'm going to go ahead and put it all together. Get my images here that I already got cropped out. My little sentiment. Get it here and there. All right, so what we are going to do is we're going to start with this sentiment here. Go ahead and get out that Daffodil Delight cardstock, that 3/4 by 6 inch piece, and we are going to adhere this right in the middle of it. So I'm going to hang on to the H, and you'll notice, if I lay this down here, the bottom of the G and the top of the H do not go on this DSP, so don't put any glue on that part, otherwise it'll stick to your surface and won't do you any good for your card. So we're going to skip those parts. All right, adding a little bit of glue here to my sentiment. And this is a nice thick sentiment, so makes it pretty easy to add glue to it, which I like. It's kind of hefty, hang on to it, and it doesn't, oh, I put that glue on there. It doesn't sag, so I'm gonna have to, hopefully you didn't put glue on there. It's funny, I told you not to do it, and then I did it. All right. So this will go on your yellow piece here. And it doesn't really matter where, you just want to make sure that it's even from top to bottom. Oops. That it's straight, and then you have a little bit on each side. There we go. Now you're going to need that piece that we put aside, the blue and the green. So bring that back in. And your paper snips. So what we're going to do is we are going to cut the ends of this off, and I'm getting really close to this G. So just make a diagonal cut, just like so. And then the trick to make this one an even diagonal cut is you take this piece, make sure it's facing the same way. Oops, gotta flip it around a few times. And you're gonna put it on this side and line it up so the edges are even, and then right where you want it, you're gonna cut right next to it. So you use it as a template, so that way they are perfectly aligned and even. All right, so we have this part. This is going to go onto our blue and green piece, just like so. First, we're going to grab our card, put this on there, because that's going to go centered, left, right, top to bottom. You want to make sure that that yellow fits on there. Make sure it fits on your piece so that the corners aren't hanging off your card, otherwise they'll get bent in your envelope, which this is perfect. So again, I'm going to put glue on the back of this yellow piece, but I'm going to make sure I don't put it on the ends because it's not going to go on the card. You don't want it stuck. So leaving the ends off. Okay, I'm going to put that in the center, centered left, right, top to bottom. This is going to go down here at the bottom. And I'm making sure that that is not hanging off the sides. There we go. So yours should look like that. All right, now we're going to flip this over and we're going to add dimensionals to the back. So we're going to pop it up. So I'm probably going to use more dimensionals than you do because I am addicted to these little guys. So you use as many as you are comfortable with. But I like to make sure that there isn't an area that's going to be sagging anywhere. So this spot right here is covered by yellow, so I'm going to put that there. And then I'm going to put some little tiny pieces in these little areas. Otherwise it's going to kind of sag on me. So I'm just going to cut little pieces off of this one. And I'm going to put them in an area where they won't be seen from the front. And another little piece here. Probably should just use my tweezers. And I think I put one more there in the corner. I think I will use the tweezers. I made this one a little bit smaller. So that'll go right there in the corner. All right. I'm gonna peel all these off. Forget that little guy right there. All right. Now we're gonna stick this in place so it's even on the front, around the two sides and the top and bottom. And make sure you have it lined up nice and good before you let it stick in place. There. Get rid of those pieces. All right, now we're gonna do the flowers. So for the flowers, start with these blue ones here. These little tiny yellow centers. Oh, I can't even pick them up. There we go. They're kind of a weird shape. So, took my snips and I'm just gonna cut it. So just cut a little tiny piece off. I'm gonna use my tweezers because they are tiny. So then you're kind of left with a smaller center. So we are making do here, making our own. Put some glue on there. And I'm just going to stick it to the blue flower, like so. Then I'm going to pick up my next one. And I'm going to do the same thing. Just going to cut this little tiny nubbin off. And then put some glue on it. And put it in my next flower here. And the last one, I'm going to do the same thing. Easier to hold it with my fingers when I'm cutting. Let's switch to the tweezers here. And a tiny bit of glue. There we go. Move all my little pieces here. All right, so we're going to glue these together. So we're going to glue our leaves onto our flowers. So I'm adding just a little bit of glue here down at the where the two leaves come together. And this one is going to go, my bottom is right here, the main piece. So this one is going to go about right here, like so. So there's just a little tiny piece sticking out here. That one goes there. Again, same thing, just gonna add some glue down here at the joining part, holding onto that same little piece. And this one's gonna go right down here. And actually that little leaf is all the way under this flower. You can't even see it, so it's behind. There. And now we're gonna put leaves on the yellow one. So adding some glue. So with this one face up like that, this one is going to go right here. So the larger leaf is sticking out there, and then the smaller leaf is sticking out down here. And then the last leaves. I'm gonna put this big one underneath this little one right here. Just like so. All right. Now you're gonna need your dimensionals again. So we're gonna flip these flowers over and put dimensionals on the back of all of them. Not gonna use as many dimensionals this time, but I'm gonna make sure that each side has got one so they don't sag. So 4 on that one. Well, that's not gonna work. Put that in the wrong place. There we go. Let's put that out here. I think it's because I put that one in the wrong place. Sorry about that. It's gonna stay. We're just gonna put this one right there in the middle. All right. Dimensionals aren't so forgiving trying to get off of there, so we'll just leave it as is. I'm gonna put one in the middle of each one of these flowers. Like so. I'm gonna start with this big pink flower. So we're going to peel off all the backs. And it's going to go up here towards the top. Oh, right there. And this guy is the next, so we're going to put the yellow one on. And I'm going to tuck it a little bit under the flower, under the leaf of that one. And then set it in place. And then our 3 flowers. So we'll do this one up here first. Again, I'm going to tuck it under this yellow flower, and then I'm going to have it on top of this green leaf here a little bit. And then this guy, gonna come under this pink flower, right underneath there. Stick him in place. And then the last one, is gonna go underneath the yellow and underneath the leaf and a little on top of that blue one. Perfect fit right there. All right, all that is left is the embellishments. And for our embellishments on this one, we're going to use the Glossy Dots Assortment. These are super bright. I don't use them very often, but they are perfect for this card. So I'm going to use the yellow, and I'm going to start with a medium-sized one. So picking up a medium one, I'm going to put it up here. And then a small one. Well, don't have a whole lot of room down here. So we're going to improvise, and this one's going to go up here. Put one right there. And then another small one. I like to put my embellishments in a triangle pattern to create some symmetry. So I have 2 up here. I'm going to put one down here in this corner, right there. And that is our bold and bright, delightful wishes card. I hope you enjoyed making this card. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out, leave your comments below. I'll be happy to answer them. And if you would, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.